In this video, we're going to be taking a look on the information that's on pages Access 10 and 11, in which we're going to be creating primary keys. Now, the primary key field of a table serves two important purposes. First, it contains data that uniquely identifies each record. Now, no two records can have the exact same entry in the field designated as the primary key field. Second, the primary key field helps relate one table to another in a one-to-many relationship. And that is where one record from one table may be related to many records from a second table. For an example, let's assume that our one record in the customers table may be related to many records in the comments table. So maybe we may contact this customer on a regular basis and we have several comments from this customer on there. But however, on the customers table, we'd only have their name input in one time. So that would be a one-to-many relationship that's on there. So it's one customer may have many comments. Now, the primary key field is always on the one side of a one-to-many relationship between two tables that's on there. Some other examples you may can think of with a primary key field may be such things as a social security number, because each of us has an individual social security number and we shouldn't have a duplicate social security number. So that's one thing to kind of keep in mind on there. In addition, could be some things like your student ID number. Maybe your library number, lunch number. Some of these things can't be duplicated in the system, and those things would be really good primary keys. So now if we go down and we take a look at the steps on page Access 10, step 1 tells us that we want to right-click the comments table in the navigation pane. And when you right-click this allows you to open up the shortcut menu, and here you can quickly go into the design view. So you don't have to open it and then go switch the view. You can actually go straight into the design view this way. So we're going to click on design view, and this will open us up in design view. Now, the field with the auto number data type is generally the best candidate for the primary key field in a table, because it automatically contains a unique number for each record, and it will never duplicate the number, and it will never replace a number. So if I had record numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I would delete out record number 3, it would never give me another 3 again. It would just leave that number blank. That way, so I would never have to go through and worry about, is that old information for number 3 or is that new information for number 3? So the auto number field is a very good candidate for that. But however, it doesn't have to always be the auto number, so just keep that in mind as well. So step 2 on here tells us that we're going to click on the comment ID field if it's not already selected. And you can tell it's selected just because we have our insertion point in here, or you can click on the field selector, which is on the side over here, and that will select the entire area as well. Next, up in our ribbon, we're going to click on the primary key button in the tools group on the design tab. Of course, notice that we have the tables tools, and our design tab should already be selected. In our tools group, we notice that there's a key here, and that's our primary key. If we would click on that, notice that now, directly to the left of comment ID, there's a key there. And that indicates that the comment ID field is now set as the primary key field for the comments table. So when that is in place there, that's saying that this is our primary key. Now, you don't want to use certain things as first name or last name as a primary key, because you might have several people with the same first names, or you might have several people with the same last names. You want to have a unique information or unique record for the primary key. And since this is auto number, once again, it's a perfect candidate for this. Now, you need to make sure that the design tab is selected on the ribbon. So if you're somewhere else, like external data, create, somewhere else, you need to make sure you're on the design tab that's up here so that you can get access to your primary key. Next, what we need to do is, step 3 tells us that we need to right-click the comments table tab. So we need to right-click here. And then it tells us that we want to click on close. And of course, it's going to ask changes to the design of the table comments. Yes, we do. Now, anytime you must save design changes to an access object such as the table. the Access displays a dialog box to remind you to save the object. Now, if you don't want that to appear, don't forget, you do have a Save button that's up here as well in your Quick Access toolbar that will actually save your table design. Now, once again, when you're inputting in information, you don't have to click the Save, because anytime that you move down to the next record, it automatically saves that information. Now, when you make design changes, you have to save it before it will permanently save that information. So the data is very important in Access. That's why it automatically saves it for you automatically. It doesn't want any risk of, I've spent 5 hours inputting in information, that's part of my job, and then, oops, I forgot to save, I lost it. Access will get rid of that oops for you on there, because the only time you really need to save an Access database is when you make design changes. Next, on step 4, it tells us that we need to right-click the Customers table in the navigation pane, and then we need to click on Design View. So we're going to put this in Design View. Now we'll notice that already that the Customer ID, or the Cust ID here, already is set as the primary key field for the Customers table. And generally when you open up a blank database, that ID field is going to be automatically the primary key, because it's going to be the ID field name and an auto number for you. So since that's in place, we can go ahead and right-click the Customers tab and click on Close. And of course, since we didn't make any changes, it's not going to ask us to save this on there. So that's where we're not prompted to save the Customers table, because we didn't make any changes. Now that we've made sure that each table in our database has the appropriate primary key fields, we're ready to link these two tables together. And that's what we're going to be doing in our next video, because these primary key fields plays a critical role in the relationship in tying two tables together. Now, take a look quickly on page Access 11. Talks a little bit about learning about field properties. That's on there as well. Now, the properties about fields are the characteristics that define the fields. Now, 2 properties are required for every single field, and that is the field name and the data type. So if I would open up our Customers tab and just go into Design View, these 2 items here are the properties, and those are required of every single field. However, there are other properties that you can set. You can set things such as the field size, how many characters you can have into it, and that's down here at the bottom, where you can see that there's the field size, the format of it, the caption that you have, and of course a default value if you want it to have on there. And those are defined in the Field Properties pane, which is in the lower half of the table's design view. Now, as you add more property entries, you're generally restricting the amount of data or the type of data that can be entered into the field, which actually will increase the accuracy of your data. For example, you might change the field size property for a state field to 2, which will eliminate any correct entries, such as maybe if you were going to try to abbreviate Florida, which is FL, but typed in FLL. If you put in 2 as in the field size on there, that would actually eliminate that error, so that you would know that you only were allowed 2 characters. Field properties change depending on the data type for the selected field. For an example, date fields do not have a field size property because Access controls the size of the fields with the date time data type. That concludes the information that's on pages Access 10 and 11, and in our next video we're going to be talking about relating the 2 tables that we currently have in our database. So go ahead and make sure that both of your tables are closed and that your database is still open and you're ready to move on to the next video.